Rabbi Yankov Alevi, Chaim Lebrach, Atem Hashem, Chaim Lebrach, Chaim Lebrach. You want another speech? It's enough. Wie viel is hier gered? Wie viel is hier reden? Well, B'chlal, there are a few rules in life. And one of them is to be a dugma chaya. In other words, your children are not what you say, your children are what you do.
But they say they see you're too nervous, and they say you're too nervous.
That's true, yeah, you are too nervous.
And they want to be more chill.
Okay.
And
So
what do you do?
you do your best. So the other side of that coin is it has to be shalom, it has to be peace, taka. It's tricky. See, I'm going to tell you something. You get one chance to raise your kids. There's no dress rehearsal. You do your best, and the Eibishter helps. Now the Eibishter is funny. The Eibishter's way of helping sometimes has, what looks like temporary failures, and then you look back 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, and you see that it works out. You're not allowed to doubt yourself. You have to work on not being nervous. I have to work on not being nervous. You got to work on not being nervous. But we have to teach our children that Yiddishkeit is important. Period. It's the dilemma when people talk about OTD, and of course everybody says you're not allowed to say it, not allowed to say this, not allowed to say this. Yeah, the difference between our generation and your parents' generation was in your parents' generation every frum yid was a Bama Sidus Nefesh. It was that simple. If you didn't want to be frum, you weren't frum. In the 1960s, frum boys and girls from relatively frum homes went off to college and became fry on a regular basis. Midei shana b'shana. It was a nest if a few of them stayed frum. And that was life. They went 12 years of day school, 12 years of Teda. Goddess, who stayed frum. Then we all became very fafrumt, very radical. And we have lots and lots of children, Baruch Hashem, and not all of them are so fafrumt like us. And we deal with the fact that some of the kids are rebelling, yeah. And on some level, we can't understand why they rebel, why they don't rebel. But you got to fight the good fight. You have to. Sometimes you have a special case. Special case requires special treatment. But normal conditions, the children have to know that this is really important to us. Because if it's really important to us, it's going to be really important to them. In other words, do you make mistakes? Of course you make mistakes. But it's life. Not to raise your kids. The worst crime, one of my own children and I have an argument for years already. You raise your kids, your brain. There's a culture in America. There's a culture in America among smart people. I had a daughter who went to Simi Valley, where they make the computers. The smartest people in America. The smartest people in America live there. And these people are raising their children, and you're not allowed to use pronouns. It's not he or she, it's they. And the kids come to Gan Yisrael. The menalim of the camp are saying you have to be very careful. You're not allowed to say he or she, because you're going to be merachak the kids. My daughter came home disgusted. And these are the smartest people in the world. And the shita is, do not give your children any values. Why? Because it's brainwashing. You raise them, and you don't give them hashkafa selim, and they'll fight for themselves. So I have a standing argument with one of my own children, where the issue is, why did you brainwash us? I mean, whatever. It's not so gross, it's not so strong, but that's the nekudas vikuach. And what I say to my kids is, the worst thing you can do is raise a child without a value system. Because then the child grows up thinking that there is no values. The kid wants to rebel, it's his business. You have to teach him what you believe. Every parent has to teach his child what they believe. Now the kid goes, why did you brainwash me? Why did I brainwash you? Because that's my job. I'm supposed to raise you. And now, if the kid says, I want to choose a different way of life, but what you gave them by raising them is the hashkafa that there is a way of life. Because if you raise a kid and you don't give him any values, the kid grows up thinking that there's nothing that's real. You gave them one hashkafa, he wants it, but at least he was taught by his parents that there's a right and a wrong.
So there's Zaidi, so
No.
Zaidi didn't give the kid
The Zaidi was a Zaidi.
They didn't give their kids their
And the Zaidi had to contend with the fact that his children, the father and the mother of Moshe Yes, looked at him as a alta kaket, as a failure, as the old generation. They suffered him because he was mishpacha, but them gelitten. So the father and the mother, B'chlal, were not respecting the Zaidi. The grandchildren, because they looked at him as he's old for the old country.
didn't help the chinuch.
Of course not. But the grandchildren were more influenced from the Zaidi than the parents were. But when the parents said Zaidi's gone, Zaidi's gone. Zaidi's gone. You can't. A person is not allowed to spend his whole life questioning himself. A person has to be able to be critical of himself. A person has to think about what they could do better, what they could do finer, what they could do nicer. But the hadav in the kinder. You have to raise your kids. You have to raise them. You make a mistake, but you have to teach them your values. Then they'll decide they want different ones. But you have to teach them your values, because at least you're giving them the idea that there are values. If you don't raise them with values, they're going to raise equivocal children without any core, which is a deep, 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 deep sickness. It's very difficult to heal from. You change seats. A girl in Mechel years ago asked me, Rabbi, I'm a Balchova, I'm living in Crown Heights, how do I guarantee that I should have Hasidic children? So I said to her, I can't tell you the answer, but I can tell you 9/10 of it, 90%. Shalom bias. It's not 100%, but it's a big piece. Heintige Zeiten, Shalom bias, a größere Mitzvah. In Tanya steht jetzt, Hu Ama Vayehi, Hu Isha, Hu Tzivi Amen Zebonov, ist die Bonov Kaden noch help Yatere, aber von deswegen darf man, weißt doch, in Amerika ist das Chinuch.
Not if your lawyer standard Yiddish, correct?
No, I'm saying something else. Shalom bias in America is the foundation of your standard of Yiddishkeit.
No, I'm saying if Yiddishkeit have a high standard and kashrus or
Whatever it is, you make it work. Whatever you have to do, you make it work.
to make a high standard.
Shalom bias is very, very important. The highest standard is Shalom bias itself. Whatever you have to do, Shalom bias. Don't fight with your wife because you're not religious enough. It's stupid. It's such stupid. You be religious. you be religious.
Because if you're trying to tell your kid one way and she has a different,
No, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. A home is supposed to be a safe place. Children, this is one of my regular speeches. So prepared drushes. Yeah. I told it to the girls of Mochachana. I was very surprised at the reaction. I said, what do schools and homes have in common? What do schools and homes have in common? And the answer is, they both need to be peaceful, orderly, predictable environments. You can treat your kids any way you want, but they have to know what's going to happen. Can't be surprises. A school will be a peaceful place. Peaceful, clean, orderly, peaceful. A home has to be clean, orderly, peaceful. Because that creates the safety, the sense of security of the child, which is so important psychologically, are those things. So it's not just that you're not disagreeing about Yiddishkeit. You're creating an environment that allows the kinderlach to grow up. But it's hard. Shalom bayis is hard. Everything else. Everything's hard. We do our best.
perhaps if you want to convey certain values to the kids, you have to first look it over and make sure that you're both on the same page. Otherwise it's...
In my home, the biggest taina is, and every time the kids complain, it's like the biggest compliment. Ma, I told you not to tell Ta. Or Ta, I told you not to tell Ma. What's the answer?
Tama.
We're one person. If you don't want me to tell Todd, don't tell me, because Todd's gonna know. But the foundation of that is the cohesion. Shalom bayis, a big one. It's an important one. Tell me your name again. Moshe. Go ahead. Nebuch. The boy, his mother is a Jew and his father is a Goy. So what is the question?
So, if you're the only person who cares that he has not
The hair.
No.
what do you do?
You suggested they make a bris. Oh. Huh?
You did.
And
They're not.
so you wait a little bit and you suggest again? And you wait a little bit and you suggest again?
When do you go directly to the boy himself?
When the boy is big?
20 is good?
20 is for sure good. But you could go to the boy when he's much younger. You have to just make sure that you go in the kind of way that the boy shouldn't tell his parents that you're trying to force him. You can go to him when he's 12. But it has to be, he wants it. The parents don't want to be it. You need to do it in the kind of way that the parents should not say, why are you mixing into how I'm raising my kids? So you come to the kid and you say, you know, Jews have a bris. You don't tell him, I think you should do this. He has to want the bris. Then you have to wait till he's a little bit older and understands.
So it has to come from him.
Well, you have to.
You buy him gift.
You can buy a gift, whatever you have to do, but you have to do it in a kind of way that the parents are not going to push back. Oh, you're worried about fulfilling the mitzvah? Just get it done. The important thing you have to have the bris, and fulfilling the mitzvah is a cleaning guy. Wow. Wow. Wow.
You will give him a portion in the world to come?
Yeah, of course we're going to.
No?
Oh, stop it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do what you can do. Don't worry about the Olam Haba. Worry about the Olam Haba. Let him do a mitzvah. Let him do noch a mitzvah. Noch a mitzvah. Noch a mitzvah.
It's a mystery to find.
That's what it's one.